Hi, my name is Rebecca Jackson, and I am doing my Learning Teaching Interaction for our week 2 or our lesson 2. And this is actually my second time doing it because the first time I went way too long. So I have a timer, so sorry if that goes off. But we're just supposed to talk about all of the things that we read. I loved reading all of this because before, when we started the class, I felt completely lost. I had no idea what I was doing or how to even develop a workshop. Felt totally unqualified for it. And so being able to read and learn more about it really has helped me understand it better and give me direction. So the first chapter was how about the FLE program. It takes the family science principles and practices to the general public, and one way to do that is through workshops, which is the choice that I'm doing, is a workshop option. So how does FLE tie in with my beliefs about the family? I think that people need to be more dedicated to the family and to strive to have the most ideal family given their circumstances. Not everybody has the most ideal family, and that's okay if they're striving for that. I think FLE education is important to help empower people to want to do better and to be better. Nobody goes into a marriage or a family wanting to fail or wanting to have issues or problems. I think a lot of times they just don't have the tools and the knowledge to be able to have successful relationships and to better their family life. And so I think that's really important for FLE to be able to do that. The approaches, I like learning about all of those, and the one that I would see myself doing is the collaborator approach, because I want to be knowledgeable about my subject matter and to do all the research, but I know that it's also important to learn from others. I don't want to stand up and lecture the whole time, and getting the input of others, and also later on talking about marketing and how to really understand your target audience. I think an important part of that is to ask them questions. What are your concerns? What kind of problems do you have? What will help you learn to have a better marriage? My workshop is about marriage, so I think that's really important to collaborate and work together. And not everybody knows everything, so if I can learn from them and they can learn from me, then I think that is great. Chapter 2 was about designing prevention programs, and that's one thing that really stood out to me, is that we need to be doing prevention programs and not any kind of therapy. If they do need therapy, then we need to be able to recommend them to somebody that can help them with that. So part of doing the prevention program, it's really important to know your audience so that you can help them benefit from your program. If you don't know their needs, you don't know what they need, you can't fulfill their needs. And so it's important to talk to them to figure out what their needs are, and ask them questions, ask them if they have any specific questions or need guidance on how to sorry, that's my little 1-year-old, how to solve certain issues in their marriage. And so if you really understand your audience, then you can develop your program for them. Chapter 16 was about marketing, and I touched on that before, how important it is to know about your target audience so that you can really understand them and know how to best meet their needs. Through the readings that I felt that I needed to try to understand the needs of my target audience better. I know what I need in my marriage and what could help me and what kind of issues that I face, but I don't really know everyone else is around me. We're kind of all in the same situation. My workshop is about creating your happily ever after in your marriage, with an emphasis on families or couples that are in residency programs. So I kind of have an understanding of it. My husband's finishing up his residency program now, but by sending out a questionnaire and really trying to understand my audience and what they really need, then I will be able to do the needed research and figure out how to best give them the tools and the skills to better their relationships. The ways that I'm going to market it, besides figuring out what they really need, is I'm going to have 2 workshops. The first one is going to be more towards those resident wives. And I'm going to have a girls' night with treats and snacks and hold a workshop then. And then my second one's going to be a more general workshop for anybody that is married and that doesn't have quite those specific residency program stresses. And so I'm just going to talk to my bishop about who could benefit from those and put a flyer in the Relief Society newsletter, and hopefully I'll be able to reach out and meet the needs of some people with this. Chapter 18 was about improving the practice of family life education. And I think that part of improving the practice is to design a great program. And if you're able to design a great program, you can take that same program and implement it in lots of different places. For example, my workshop again is about marriage, creating your happily ever after marriage, and the importance of strengthening your marriage, with that emphasis on the couples in residency. So I know a bunch of women in residency. Well, their husbands are in residency here, where I live in Florida. But if I were able to create such a great program, then that could be taken to anywhere that has a bunch of residents, and they can all benefit from that program. So I think that's really important part of developing the program to fit needs. And then another important thing that they talked about in that chapter was the program rigor. It's important to have your scientific-based research and to really have it up to standard, because it sets us apart from just having a mom's group sharing what they think is best and what helps them, and the parenting principles that they use and the marriage principles that they use. So there's nothing wrong with that, but we have the background and the research to be able to help them better. The appendix, I really loved all the principles in there. Some of them that stood out to me were the principle of order, and how that relates to my workshop is that marriage takes work. You have to invest in your marriage if you want that happily ever after. And another one, that's my alarm, I have 1 minute to wrap it all up, was the principle of movement. Life is movement. Marriage is not a fairy tale. It doesn't just happen. You have to invest in your marriage. You have to work towards that happily ever after. If you don't work towards it, then you're going to start going backwards, and you're not going to be able to have that happily ever after. So you really have to invest in your marriage. The principle of goodness, I like that one because it's important for us to remember that there's good in everyone, and people don't intentionally, especially our spouses, don't intentionally do things to upset you or make you mad. That you need to look for the good in the situations and what their true intentions are. And really important to mine is the principle of chaos, that expecting a Hollywood type ending in life and in marriage, you're just going to be disappointed. It's not like the movies. It's not like a fairy tale. If you want the happily ever after, you have to have the realistic expectations of what that is and how to create it. It doesn't just happen. And I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions with marriages, is that it should be easy and it should just happen, which marriage should be easy, but you have to work towards that great relationship, and you can be happy. And then the principle of discovery and synergy, I think those two go hand in hand. You need to work together. Not one person is right. It shouldn't all go one person's way. If you work together and you learn from each other, and it'll allow you to learn new things and discover new things, and you can work together and think of things that you didn't even think about before that your spouse might have, and you can make your marriage even better by working together instead of saying it's my way and this is what we need to do. But if you work together, then it'll be even better. And that's about all I have for these chapters. There was a lot to cover, and I feel like I'm just running through it as fast as I can. So hope you can learn something from me, and I look forward to watching all your videos. Thanks.